Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Alta, and here I review movies, TV shows, and sometimes I put travel. I love to travel, so sometimes I put my travel videos, travel video diaries. Let's talk about Captain America: Brave New World. I am a Marvel fan. I've actually reviewed more movies than I've actually more Marvel movies than I've posted on here, so I should fix that. But I went to see Captain America: Brave New World. I was really looking forward to this movie, and it did not disappoint me. I did go see it with two friends who were underwhelmed. They expected better for Sam's first for his debut on the big screen as Captain America. They wish that the story had been more robust. I'll get into that like in a few minutes, but I was satisfied. I was pleased with the story. So this is going to be a spoilery review, but I'll let you know when when the spoilers are coming. Big picture, I think that you should go see the movie if you haven't yet. And if you don't want to be spoiled, save this and come back, and you can hear all my thoughts and you can tell me all of your thoughts. So, as far as the plot, the summary of the movie, Sam is dealing with an international incident, right? If you've watched the trailers, you see he was invited to an event at the White House. Him and Isaiah Bradley, who we met in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the show on Disney Plus. They went. Isaiah busts out a gun and shoots at the president, President Ross, and which leads to Isaiah getting arrested. But what is going on? Is Isaiah really out here trying to murder the president, or is there something more to it? That's the job Sam has in the movie, is to find out what's really going on and try to prevent an international incident. And at his side is Joaquin Torres, who I don't think he's officially the Falcon yet. I don't remember. But as his side is Joaquin Torres and a few other characters that he's working with along the way. I like this plot. I said in my non-spoiler review, my out of theater reaction, that like I was very pleased with the fact that the plot happened here on Earth. They were crossing, I think they crossed state lines. They definitely crossed like international borders, but they weren't jumping through the space-time continuum. Everything happened on Earth. It was a nice, it was a breath of fresh air, a nice reprieve from all of the world-ending plots. That was wearing on me a little bit, especially because it would be a world-ending plot and the movie wasn't good. So the stakes were getting to be the same. Like, for example, Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi debuted in his movie. Granted, that was a couple years ago now, but he debuted in his movie, and already he had to stop an interdimensional monster from coming on here and destroying the world. Like, I like Shang-Chi a lot, but the plot was world ending. Eternals, rest in peace, but Eternals had a world, and you know what I mean? So it was nice to get away from that. And in that sense, I like that Brave New World continued in the same tone as Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the series, the plot was also like a political intrigue type of plot. International politics were at play. So I enjoyed that as well. I thought the plot was exciting. I think the villains were good. I did like that, you had your big bad, but you also had a smaller stake villain in the form of Sidewinder. I would love to see him again. I like that Sam had a human foe who was just better skilled than he was in a lot of ways. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But overall, love the movie. I love what it did for Sam, which is how I'm going to start this out. So I'm going to talk about how Sam came off in this movie. I'm going to talk about the emotional anchor of the movie, and I'm going to talk about some of the three things that didn't really hit for me, that I didn't really feel like connected. I didn't feel connected to, and then I'll loop back around to some other things that I liked, and then I will wrap it up. So, like I said, I think the movie did well by Sam. I love how he showed up in Brave New World. He showed up as level-headed, during a crisis, as you would expect for someone who is an Avenger. Level-headed. He showed up as a mentee of Isaiah Bradley. He showed up as a mentor of Joaquin Torres, he showed up as a guide and slash counselor of Isaiah Bradley, trying, helping him put one foot in front of the other. He showed up as a friend to Isaiah. He was smart. He was brave. He was courageous. We saw him wrestling with whether or not he should have taken the super soldier serum. Despite the strong showing that Sam had, he also had a part in the story where he's still questioning if he's doing things the right way, if he's doing the right thing. So if he's doing things the right way in terms of not taking the serum, yes, he has the example of Natasha and Clint, I think that's Hawkeye's name. They weren't super soldiers and they were out there in the fight, right? They're not enhanced. He also has the example of Tony, who also wasn't a super soldier. He was a human being, but he had the tech. So he's very much like Tony in that way, but he's not taking up the mantle of Iron Man. He's taking up the mantle of Captain America. And Steve had the serum on his side. It was a nice insurance policy. And I think to further show why this weighs on Sam, I like that he sustained so many injuries. And I love that the majority of them came from Sidewinder. Like I said in the beginning, someone who is human, not an alien, a human man who is just skilled and ruthless. I like that a lot. Sam is also questioning if he's doing things the right way, if he's doing the right thing by working so closely with the US president, right? We know from Captain America, we know from Falcon and the Winter Soldier that Isaiah thinks this is a bad idea. Isaiah back then didn't think he should even put on the suit, but definitely shouldn't be getting in bed directly with the US government. Sam himself has the experience of the whole like Sokovia Accords situation debacle. And so working so closely with the US president, like he's one step away from being a weapon of the United States government. And we saw that in this movie with Ross telling him, it's over for Isaiah. Like he did this. Ross expected him to just follow orders, drop this, don't get involved. And Sam was like, no. Like he went his own way to figure out what is going on because he knew in his gut that Isaiah did not try to murk the president of the United States. I noticed that they took out, so Ross still had his line of like, you're not Steve Rogers. They took out Sam saying, you're right, I'm not. What I want to say is that Ross saying you're not Steve Rogers felt like it came out of nowhere because Sam was talking about doing an investigation, like working this himself. I don't remember if it was in partnership with the agent, the intense agent, the former Black Widow, or what, but he was just talking about investigating this. And Ross pops out of nowhere and talks about you're not Steve Rogers. Sam wanting to investigate is not something that is unique to Steve Rogers, so I didn't understand why Ross had that, why he said that to him. But Sam went his own way, but he had a crew of people to help him. So it was great to see where he is at since Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He's got his own solar system of people he works with, his own, he's the center now. Like he's got his trusted people. He's got Agent Taylor on the inside. He's got Isaiah. He's got Joaquin. He's got somebody else who I'll get to. Everything in this movie, including the stuff with President Ross, worked to uplift Sam and show us who he is. Not just the hero, Captain America, but the man that he is and why he is in the position that he is, why he was a great Falcon and why he's going to be a great Captain America. So love the display of the relationships. Let's talk about the relationship that anchored this movie. Sam's friendship with Isaiah Bradley. That was that anchored the movie. Isaiah Bradley brought the human element to Captain America: Brave New World. Isaiah Bradley is the heart of this movie. Carl Lumbly delivered the best performance in this movie. And the scene between Isaiah and Sam when Sam came to visit him in the prison cell, the most well acted scene in the movie. Carl Lumbly and Anthony Mackie were on their P's and Q's. They came to act. It was just so powerful. I love the progression and the growth in Sam's relationship with Isaiah since Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think Captain America Brave New World did a good job of showing us just how much their relationship has progressed. I love that the movie, the writers didn't rest on Isaiah's bitterness, right? He was very bitter and very angry, understandably so, when we met him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. To my pleasant surprise, and I wasn't like expecting anything like worse. I went in expecting a good movie and I got a good movie. I enjoy how vulnerable Isaiah was in this movie. He is like, first of all, I just want to protect him. He is like a tender wound, right? He's not a hard shell. Yes, he has that wall, but like the fear that was present in his eyes, on his face when everything started going down, when he had to surrender, when he had to make that decision to give himself up to the United States government, the fact that his face crumbled and he like started to cry, I was done. That was Sam and Isaiah's friendship is super powerful because let's get into it. Isaiah Bradley was brutalized by the United States government. I won't say the government failed him. That's putting it too lightly. They were intentional with the way they treated him. The government used him. The government abused him and his friends. The government, led to the death of his fellow Black soldiers. The government threw him in prison or jail for 30 years, experimented on him, stole his life, and erased him. Erased his suffering, erased his accomplishment. And years later, he got to watch this white man be lifted up as a hero, as an example, as an inspiration. A man who got a choice, I think Steve like volunteered for the serum, who got to make a choice about what the government was going to put in his body. Isaiah didn't get any of that. And I'm imagining the anger and bitterness that stoked in him to watch the country lift Steve up and give Steve what they refused to give him. All they gave him was pain and suffering, loss, death, disrespect. And a big part of the story is that a big part of why this happened to Isaiah is because he is Black. It's because he was a Black soldier, and it was in the government's tradition of using and abusing and discarding Black bodies. And so because of that horrific experience, Isaiah is very protective of Sam. And Sam is very protective of Isaiah. Isaiah does not trust the US government. He thinks they're one, because like, here comes Sam, right? Here comes Sam, a younger Black man who, no, he doesn't have the super serum, so it's not a one-to-one story, but the government is seemingly asking him to like don the Captain America suit and represent America, and the government seemingly approves, and Isaiah's over here like, watch your back. Don't trust these people. They could turn on you on a dime. He doesn't trust it. And so he's protective of Sam. And so when everything goes down with him, in the midst of the confusion, he doesn't know how it happened. When Sam comes to visit him, he plays the only card he has, the only card he can play, which is to ask Sam to drop it. He wants Sam to drop it because he doesn't want to even chance that the president or anyone else will associate Sam with him and therefore punish Sam. So all he wants is for Sam to just drop it, but Sam is not going to drop it because Sam is also protective of Isaiah. That's his friend. Sam, a black man, in America, grew up hearing of stories of Isaiah's. No, it didn't have anything to do with the super soldier serum, but the story of black people, their bodies, first of all, their agency being taken away from him, being experimented on, being discarded, being erased. Sam grew up learning that. So no, he's not going to give up on Isaiah. And so he goes about with his investigation to try to exonerate his friend, especially especially with the fact that, like, I think the death penalty was on the line for what Isaiah did. In Brave New World, we watched the US government traumatize Isaiah all over again. Those cops surrounding him, helicopters, being thrown in jail, being told that, like, he's looking at a death sentence, traumatized him all over again. And that's why, not that he knew this was going to happen, but, like, this is why Isaiah does not trust the government. Yes, the government acknowledged Isaiah. Sam got them to at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And yes, he was touched by that to be seen in such a manner after he served his, if nothing else, because he served his country. But that's small potatoes. It's not nothing, but it doesn't erase the literal decades of pain and suffering, not just when he was in jail, but also when he was when he was out of jail as well. Like, Chatting with a Friend Reviews created a short video, a quick review of Captain America Brave New World, and she talked about the fact that, all they gave Isaiah was this statue. And I have something similar in my notes, like, not just that the statue is not enough, but, like, what Isaiah needs is reparations. They need to pay him reparations for what they did to him. And the fact that, like, because, like, Chatting with a Friend Reviews was saying that, like, I don't remember if it was in the video or in the comment section, she was talking about how, like, they didn't exonerate him after plastering his face all over the news and saying that he tried to kill the president. I guess we're supposed to infer that happened. There is still injustice that exists in Isaiah's story. And it's an injustice that, like, the government will never fix. The thing is that, like, I'm not confident. Actually, I'm very confident that Feige and co. are not thinking about it like that. Like, and they very easily can have a conversation about it. I mean, they had a conversation about the injustice, the allusion to just, like, being black in America and black people being experimented and all that stuff, like, in fact, in the Winter Soldier. So it's not like it's impossible, but I don't think they're thinking about the fact that there is still a grave injustice being perpetuated to Isaiah, and that it was further entrenched with this whole being accused of shooting the president and being thrown in jail. It doesn't matter that the president and the Secret Service really thought that Isaiah tried to. That's what it looked like. Yes, that doesn't matter. Like, Isaiah still got, I don't know, like, it still perpetuated a certain dehumanization and ignoring of his pain. Does the government owe him being treated like kids' gloves because of what they put him through? Yeah, probably. But I will say, I would like to think that Isaiah, although I won't go so far as to say that, like, Sam being Captain America is Isaiah's wildest dream come true. That's not his wildest dream come true. His wildest dream come true would be some damn reparations, an acknowledgement, a memorial, put up for the men, like, his fellow soldiers that died because of this damn serum. I don't think that story is out there in the MCU. I don't believe so. I like to think that during some quiet moments, Isaiah Bradley experiences a little bit of whimsy at the reality that a black man is Captain America. I think he deserves that. I think Isaiah deserves a bit of whimsy. I like to think that there are moments where, like, the pain, awe bursts through the pain, and he experiences awe at the fact that Sam Wilson is Captain America, and I like to think that the image of Sam as Captain America does a little something to soothe, not heal, but soothe the wound that opened up, I'm sure, when he saw Steve running around and being uplifted and promoted as Captain America. And for anyone who needs to hear it, no, that's not Steve's fault, but it doesn't matter that it's not Steve's fault. It doesn't matter that Steve's innocent in all of this. It matters is the relationship. It's the relationship between Isaiah and the government, and what the government, up until Sam, what they invested their efforts towards, and how they used Isaiah as a pawn. How they use Isaiah as a pawn. So I like to think that, and I think that that whimsy and awe is why Isaiah ultimately agreed to leave his house and go to a party at the White House of all places. Is because like there's a part of him, I think, that likes that Sam is Captain America. There's a part of him that sometimes I think gives into like the hope that that represents, not for a better America or anything like that, but just like that it's a little bit okay. Like it's like just the fact that like it's awe inspiring and impressive and just a sight to see considering where he came from. I think the moment in the limo, the scenes in the limo between Isaiah, Sam, and Joaquin were so adorable. And again, I know I just talked about Isaiah a whole lot, but I think being protective of Isaiah and the way Sam was shown, and the way Sam was shown to care about Isaiah says a lot about him as a man, as a hero, as a character. Sam respects Isaiah's trauma and his pain, so he's not going to push too hard, but he is invested in giving Isaiah a little bit of sunshine. You know what I mean? Which is why like he invited him to the party and wanted to see him in his suit and just out and about and mingling. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful friendship. It's an inspiring friendship. It's a heartwarming friendship. And speaking of friendship, we have Bucky. Bucky made a cameo. I was so excited to see him. Guys, I don't care for I didn't care for Bucky until Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I like the Winter Soldier. I like Bucky as the Winter Soldier. But like the way like people in the fandom just love the Bucky and Steve friendship, I don't care for it. Steve's not one of my like favorite characters. He actually gets on my nerves a lot. So like I really, and not to mention Bucky was at the I've said this before in other reviews. Bucky was at the center of like the most stressful beef in Captain America Civil War. So I'm just like, he has a stain on him from all that. But Falcon and the Winter Soldier really endeared me to Bucky, and I fell in love with him as a character. But I also recognize that like when he's not with Sam, I kind of don't care, because when I saw him in Thunderbolts, the Thunderbolts trailer or the quick scene they had released, I was like, oh, there's Bucky. But when he showed up in this movie, I was like, there's Bucky. When he told Sam, I love you, man, I melted. I said, "Oh," out loud in the theater. It was so beautiful. The power of therapy. I love their friendship. I love their dynamic. I love what he said to Sam. He said to Sam something about like he made an observation that like Steve gave people something to believe in, and Sam gives people something to aspire to, something like that. I've only seen the movie once, but Steve gives people something to believe in. Sam gives people something to aspire to. It actually is even more poignant. It's even more poignant observation if we put on like if we look at this through a racial lens, which we're meant to, and think about the whole like two Americas, right? Sarah Wilson, Sam's sister, had a line that I can't find the scene on YouTube, but in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Sarah said something like, "I'm a black woman in America. What does Captain America have to do with me?" Steve gave people something to believe in, but was it everybody? Now that the MCU is a complex place, and I have something to say about that. When I'm talking about one of the things I didn't like, none of the MCU is a complex place, a complex universe where people have complex experiences and complex existences. We can imagine that, like, what Bucky said is even more poignant when you think about, like, there are two Americas, right? The America that white people experience, the America that Black people and other people of color experience, but especially Black people. Steve gave people something to believe in, but not, or not. Not, maybe not everybody felt inspired by seeing Steve Rogers as Captain America. We know Isaiah Bradley didn't feel no damn inspired, and probably neither did Isaiah's grandson. Sam gives people something to aspire to, aka probably, little Black kids, definitely Joaquin. Joaquin said in that one of the final scenes that, like, Sam is the person, is the hero that he was looking at. Falcon is the hero that Joaquin was paying attention to. He is the one. It was Falcon that, like, expanded Joaquin's imagination and made him think things were possible. So Bucky's line is very, very poignant. I was so very happy to see him. And while we're on Bucky, let me talk about the first thing let me talk about one of the things that didn't work. It's minor, but, like, I had several, like, I had two what is going on moments in this movie. This is a minor one compared to President Ross. I know I haven't talked about Red Hulk yet. I'm going to talk about it when I talk about Ross. Bucky running for office. It's been a while since I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but what was that? Did Falcon and the Winter Soldier end with Bucky saying he wants to run for office? When Sam said the abrupt line about, like, oh, that was good, did that come from your campaign writer? I used the word abrupt on purpose because it was an abrupt switch, clunky, to give the exposition that Bucky's running for office. I don't know where that's coming from or why it's happening. Moving on to Ross. Ross was a good foil / antagonist for Sam in the movie. I did enjoy him. I enjoyed Harrison Ford's performance. Duh. However, the stuff about his daughter, the emotional stuff, because they tried to make Ross, like, be part of the emotional element in this movie, and it didn't work. I didn't know why him being hurt because his daughter won't talk to him. I don't know why that was important. I was watching it, like, I feel like y'all want me to know what's going on, and I don't. And it's because I didn't watch the Hulk. I found out after. It's because I didn't watch the Incredible Hulk back in 2008 or anytime after. My friend Rebecca, we watched the movies in timeline. We rewatched the movies in timeline order a few years ago, before the new phase started. I don't pay attention to before Shang-Chi came out. What was the first movie after Endgame? Before that movie came out. We watched the movies in timeline order, but we skipped the Incredible Hulk because we knew by that point that whatever happened, she had already seen the movie. Turns out, we knew whatever at that point that, like, nothing that happened in that movie was relevant to what was going on at the time. So, like, Endgame had already happened. So, like, we just skipped it. And tell me why now, all these years later, decade, here we are with stuff from that movie being relevant. I was lost, but it did not take away from my enjoyment of the movie. I just accepted what they were telling me at face value, that Ross is, like, estranged from his daughter because he went after Banner. Cool. Gotcha. It didn't take away anything from the movie, but it did leave me out of the emotions that they were going for. I will say I enjoyed Red Hulk. I enjoyed the fight a lot. I don't know if it's because it's been years since I saw Banner in action, but, like, watching the fight between Sam and Red Hulk, I don't know, like, I was just impressed by the level of destruction that Red Hulk did during that fight. And I don't remember experiencing that moment ever with Green Hulk. I don't remember. Like, I remember a lot of screaming and throwing people around, but like I don't remember feeling so impressed by like the devastation, like how quickly he devastated his surroundings during that fight. So I enjoyed it. I will say that there was it was I don't know, because to me it felt like the movie climaxed during Sam and Joaquin were trying to prevent war. They're trying to prevent an international incident. That was exciting, like things, so it felt like the climax of the movie. So then when it still continued instead of wrapping up with Ross giving the speech and then him turning into Red Hulk, it felt like an appendage. Like, it felt like, I don't know, I guess it was like aftercare to carry that metaphor on through. But it felt like we had calmed down from what was happening, and then we still had something else happen. But yeah, I enjoyed the fight. I liked it a lot. Sam like talked him down. The CGI during that part when he was looking up and talking to him, that was a little off. Like it looked like CGI, like not CGI. It looked like a green screen. But otherwise, like I enjoyed that fight. I will say too, something that struck me when I was watching this movie is the level of vulnerability that we had from multiple characters. I talked about Isaiah already. He was just so fragile. I enjoyed the fragility that they portrayed with Isaiah, but also Ross. Like he had those moments. Like I know it was like the gamma rays doing their thing, but like I enjoyed seeing him. Like it wasn't all like screaming and anger. Like there were moments where he just looked confused. Like when the aides were like arguing and he was like slowly sitting down, like he just looked like confused and a little out of sorts, like a fragile old man. I just like that just the juxtaposition with like what he becomes later on. And even I'm forgetting the villain's name. He was a good villain. Like I enjoyed the I've seen I've calculated the probabilities, I've calculated the calculations, and I'm setting things in motion. I like those types of villains. I think he was an effective villain. But even him, when I don't remember what went wrong with his plan. I think it's when Sam and Joaquin succeeded in preventing war. He didn't just scream or like throw something. He started like shaking. He started like shaking in frustration, which to me was vulnerability. I don't know. I guess it struck me because like these movies, the Captain America, so like this. I mean, it tends to be like masculine fest, testosterone fest. So I appreciated seeing that vulnerability from everyone. Of course, Sam had the physical vulnerability. That's easy. But like I said, I did like that he got hurt. Stearns is the villain's name. I enjoyed him. So speaking of Ross, let me tell you. So my friend Rebecca, she was underwhelmed by this movie, and part of her critique against this movie is that there was too much Ross. For a movie, she wanted more of Sam. She wanted it to be more centered around Sam. She felt like Ross was more prominent than Sam, and at times for her, Sam felt like a supporting character to what Ross had going on. And I can see that. Let me know if you feel the same way, but I can see that point of view. And actually, when she told me that, I was like, you know what? When you're talking about Ross, because to be honest, to be frank, we did not need that C story of Ross and his daughter. Do we really care? I don't know. I didn't care. I think we could have done without it. It was fine. I think we could have done without it. But when she told me, made the observation of Ross having so much screen time, my wheels started turning. I do be reviewing movies through a like sociocultural lens. I'm interested in how race and sex and gender and sexuality and all that stuff is portrayed on film, not just in the story, but the actors themselves, right? So we have our first Black Captain America. Sam is Black. There's a lot of anger from the fandom. I keep hearing from people. I haven't seen that anger firsthand, but I know how this fandom is. A lot of anger about Sam carrying that shield. And so when she said that, what it triggered in my mind is that, I mean, this is not unheard of, is that perhaps the reason why Ross is so prominent in this movie is to offset the fact that Sam is the Black Captain America. You know what I mean? So they shoved him not the forefront, but close to the forefront in order to mitigate like some of that anger from the racist fanboys. I like I could see it that way. I can very easily see it that way. I won't like officially say that that's why, because I don't know, but I won't like confidently say, oh, that's what they were thinking. Only because I don't think that Ross's story detracted from Sam in any way. Like I said, Sam like supporting him through that slash like talking him through it and helping him see reason and helping him. I think that Ross ultimately served Sam as the main character. And so I'm not going to say that that's why, but I am considering that that's why. Because yes, we needed him there as the president and all that stuff, but like the whole thing with his like anyways, just another perspective. So I already talked about Bucky the politician. That makes sense. Or like I don't know where that came from or where it's going because he's gonna be in Thunderbolts next. Okay. The third thing that so I said Sam the politician was confusing to me. Ross's thing with his daughter didn't really where I didn't connect to it. The last thing I didn't connect to in this movie is part of the final scene between Sam and Joaquin. Specifically, in that hospital scene, I don't remember what Joaquin asked Sam. I think it's something like, how is he so good? How does he know what to do at every point? Like, essentially, how is he so perfect? And Sam's answer is something akin to like, he's under a lot of pressure. He says like when you have a seat at the when you have a seat at the when you're the first one with a seat at the table, like it's a lot of pressure because if you mess up, that messes it up for everybody else. That was the spirit of his answer, and that fell flat for me. I know it touched people because there was a man several seats from me who was like, he was feeling. He was like, and I've seen on social media like another man who was like, he cried during that when Sam was explaining that, but it fell flat for me. And the reason why it fell flat for me is that that's all it was. Like it felt like a generic scene for to have black people going, which yeah, I wish they would have personalized it. Yes, they could have kept the like when you're first at the table, when you have a seat at the table and you're the only one. I wish they would have used the moment to further build Sam because they're not done building Sam. They won't be done building Sam until he's like dead in the ground. So like I wish they would have reached back to Sam's experience in the Air Force to give us an example. Use that as an opportunity to help us get to know him further. Was there a time where he did mess up and he'll never forget it? So like not his time as Falcon, but his time as an Air Force, whatever his job was. I wish that it would have been personalized to the character as opposed to being generic for the audience. Because the moment I heard him say that, I was like, but you've been Falcon. You're not the first black superhero. Like, yes, he's a black superhero in America. And he's Captain America. But it just felt like Sam's been in this for over a decade. I'm not sure what the timeline is in the MCU at the moment. But he's been at this for over a decade. So for him to be talking about the pressure of being the first or the only, it felt a little misplaced. And it brought out some frustration for me. It brought up some frustration for me because I made the joke, not to y'all, but like just so you know, when Falcon and the Winter Soldier came out and I was watching it, I think I said to my friend that like racism didn't exist in the MCU until Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I know we had Black Panther before that, but like Black Panther was a black production. I think my frustration is this thing, specifically in the MCU, where, like, for example, the time to talk about, like, being the first or the only at the table is back when Sam was, like, the only black Avenger. You know, that was the time. But oops, he had no black friend. Well, actually, they could have given him and Rhodey a scene to talk about it. But I guess back in that instance, it would have been like a distraction because, in my opinion, Sam didn't exist in a complex. Now the world is complex when it's Sam's story. Now racism and being the first and inequality makes for a complex story. But I guess when Steve was the center and it was all these white dudes running around in tights, and all you had was Nick Fury sometimes, Sam, and Rhodey, I guess talking about it then would have been a distraction to the story. It's frustrating, and it's not just with Sam. It's like Black Widow, right? Like, there was no patriarchy until we got the Black Widow movie. There was no catcalling until we got the Captain Marvel story. It's frustrating, because essentially it's that Sam in a way had to be, like, flattened as a character because he existed in a whitewashed world where, like, the most complex thing happening was Hydra and some, like, Nazi symbolism. And now we want to talk about, a seat at the table and being the first in the pressure within that. It's just, or even the fact that, like, in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Bucky, Sam had a conversation with Bucky about, like, why it wasn't a 1+1 equals 2. It wasn't easy for him to just take up the mantle of Captain America and just accept the shield just because Steve gave it to him. It was a bit more complex than that. And he had that conversation with Bucky, and Bucky, of course, had a, like, I never realized. But Bucky grew up in segregated America with Steve. But we never saw Steve and Bucky talk about that because that would have been a distraction. That's where my mind went, and this is not to say that I don't like the introduction of this. Like, I love everything that is talked about and explored in the Black Panther universe. I'm calling it a universe, but it's because I trust the people. Like, I trust Ryan Coogler. I trust, like, their mind is there. Or even, like, the way that the Marvels was done, I enjoyed that a lot. It's just this where, like, Sam's been here, Natasha was here, especially knowing some of the background stuff or, like, behind the scenes stuff. Like, they've been here, and it's not until, like, they deign to make them leads that now we want to talk about how they felt all along. And it's essentially like they didn't want to burden the male superheroes with Natasha's stuff that she was going through, or burden the white superheroes with the stuff that Sam was thinking about. It's basically what it boils down to is, like, Sam couldn't be, like, a fully three-dimensional black character back when he was surrounded by all those white characters, but now he gets to say stuff like that because it's his own thing. And I don't think that's necessary. The will just has to be there when it is the Tonys and the Thors and all that stuff. Like, the will just has to be there, but it's not, because they be comfortable just having, like, one black person, I won't use the other word, there. So that it just brought up, like, that's I think about that from time to time, specifically with the MCU, and that just came up for me, which my mind wouldn't have gone there if they had just personalized the message as opposed to, like, making it a generic, like, moment for those of us in the audience. Yes, stuff like that does hit for me. It hits for me more often than not, but I'm saying there's a hypocrisy there with how they choose to write this stuff and how they choose to portray their black characters when they're not the main character. That's all. That's what I want to say. Other things that I liked, I really enjoyed the throwback to the Eternals with the Celestial. I really enjoyed the name dropping of adamantium. I don't know, maybe they said it in the Hulk. I don't know, the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk. But I don't think they've said adamantium. I would have remembered reacting the way I did in that theater because I legit gasped. They keep teasing the X-Men. They keep teasing the X-Men. Listen, I will fly the moment we get like a solid introduction. And that's about it. Sam's going to reconstruct the Avengers. I'm curious about what that's going to be like. Who's going to be in it? Y'all let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know who you think is going to be in it. We won't see Sam again until Avengers Doomsday, which comes out next year in 2026. So I'm looking forward to see what that looks like. I'm looking forward to seeing him again and seeing the storyline. Hopefully he will be leading, like he'll be the main lead in Avengers Doomsday. Let me know what you think of Captain America Brave New World. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I give it a 4 out of 5. The next Marvel movies that we have coming out is Thunderbolts. It comes out in May of this year, Thunderbolts. I'm not excited for it. I am looking forward to seeing Yelena, but like there's a whole bunch of new characters that I am not familiar with, so I got nothing to look forward to except for Yelena. I know Bucky's gonna be in it. I'm sure I'll enjoy him when I see him, but without Sam. And then we also have Fantastic Four First Look. First Fantastic Four First Steps. That comes out on July 25th. I'm not excited about that at all. I didn't make a TikTok when that trailer came out. I didn't make a trailer reaction at all. Simply because I didn't want to just come on here and say like I'm not feeling it. I did that for Superman, and I had some people on TikTok being like, "Oh, come on, it looks great." I'm like, it does. As long as it is great, I don't care what the trailer it looks like. It's the MCU. I'm gonna be there no matter what, even when I have a feeling that's gonna be bad, like with Thor: Love and Thunder. So like, it's not a question of if I'm gonna go. It's a question of if I'm gonna enjoy it. I hope I enjoy Fantastic Four. But like one of the things that struck me with that trailer is that like they were like Sue was like, "Oh, we're family," and I'm like, I hope I feel that way when I'm watching the movie. Cause the only people in this MCU universe that feels like family to me are the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they did that in movie 1. So big shoes to fill as far as on the family front. Oh yeah, and then Loki and Thor, but multiple people, family, Guardians of the Galaxy. Those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to me in the comments, and I will see you in the next video, which the next video will be the next few videos will be me reviewing some episodes of Paradise. I also need to do like entertainment news video because there are a few movie news that I want to react to. So see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Bye.